You can picture this. A really quiet Sunday morning. It's St. Nagar, Burari, right in Delhi. One of those residential neighborhoods. The air is probably still, maybe a bit of jasmine scent, that kind of thing. City's not fully awake yet. You hear birds, maybe a scooter going by. Life starting up. This was July 1st, 2018. Just a completely ordinary, peaceful morning. But then, that peace, it wasn't just disturbed, it was completely shattered by a discovery so horrifying. It grabbed the whole country's attention and honestly still haunts us. What happened was a neighbor, someone used to the daily rhythm, noticed something. The Chundawat family shop, grocery and plywood, It was always busy early, a real local fixture. But this morning it was still closed, shutters down. It was about 7:19 a.m. So just that normal worry, like, that's odd for your neighbors, right? That prompted them to go check. And what they found inside that house, it wasn't just quiet. It was a scene that just defied any immediate logic. A real tableau of tragedy. So today we're doing a really deep dive into one of Delhi's most baffling mysteries, the Burari deaths. It's a case that even now raises these huge, unsettling questions about, the human mind, family dynamics, and how belief, deeply held belief, can take such a terrifying collective turn. We're going to try and get past the headlines, really unpack the how and why that still leaves so many questions.
Exactly. And our goal here isn't just to rehash the story you might have seen in the news. We want to delve into the really intricate details, explore those layers of shared psychosis, which is a key term here, also blind faith, family pressure, that incredibly blurry line between, let's say, strong belief and dangerous delusion. We've looked at everything, police reports, forensic analysis, psychological autopsies, media investigations, to try and give you a really comprehensive but also sensitive look at what happened. The details, the really granular stuff are just crucial here.
Okay, so let's really get into that discovery. July 1st, 2018. It starts so ordinarily. Just a neighbor noticing the shops closed. The Chundawats were like pillars of the community in St. Nagar. Big family, seemed successful, respected. Their shop was right there, ground floor of their house, always bustling. So when those shutters stayed down past 7 a.m., a neighbor, Gurcharan Singh, just felt that little niggle of worry. Something wasn't right. Not a noise, not an alarm, just the absence of their usual morning routine. That was the trigger. So this neighbor goes over, feeling a bit uneasy, finds the door unlocked, and walks into the 3-story house. Can you even imagine the shock, the sheer misbelief before your brain can even try to make sense of it? Inside, 11 bodies. 11. And it wasn't just the number, it was how they were found. So precise, almost staged. 10 of them were hanging from a mesh grid in the ceiling in the living room area, all positioned so uniformly, blindfolded, little pieces of cloth, hands and feet bound, some with scarves, dupatas, others with wires, belts even. That detail, the binding, immediately screams something deeply disturbing, not just simple despair.
Right, and what's really striking, what hit the investigators right away, was this almost ritualistic arrangement. The hanging bodies, all 10, had cloth over their eyes and mouths, meticulously done. And crucially, they weren't, scattered like in a struggle. They were arranged in neat rows, the reports say, like a chilling performance in that central hall. That detail, neat rows, paints a picture of organization, deliberation, not chaos, not impulse, and the scale. 3 generations, grandparents, parents, down to 2 teenagers, 15 years old. Just think about that. Young kids involved in this organized horror.
And then there's the 11th person, the family matriarch, Narayani Devi. She was 80. She wasn't hanging with the others. She was found separately, strangled, on a bed in another room upstairs.
On the first floor, in a bedroom.
Her position, different from the others, just added another layer of confusion, didn't it? It made investigators wonder, why her? Was she killed first, or was there some other reason?
Absolutely. And that brings us straight to the initial dilemma for the police stepping onto that scene. Murder or mass suicide. The clues were just. They were pointing in opposite directions. Initially, you see bound bodies, blindfolds, this organized staging. Your first thought is murder. Has to be. It suggests someone came in, subdued them, arranged them like this, meticulously. Yeah. So the first report filed, it was for murder. That seemed the only logical explanation for the physical evidence right in front of them.
But then, almost immediately, came the evidence that just didn't fit. It completely complicated that initial murder theory. First off, no forced entry, none at all. Locks intact, doors fine, windows unbroken, no sign of an outsider breaking in.
Right.
And maybe even weirder, no sign of a struggle inside the house, no furniture knocked over, nothing broken, no defensive wounds on the bodies suggesting they fought back.
Like the report said, no intrusion or deviation inside.
Which strongly suggested they weren't attacked from outside, not in the way you'd expect.
Exactly.
So you have this massive paradox, right? How do 11 people end up bound, blindfolded, arranged like that, with no fight, no break-in?
It was baffling. The scenes screamed organization, but also internal horror.
And this is where the investigation took that huge pivotal turn, moving away from just, an unsolvable crime towards something, well, something much stranger, more disturbing.
Yeah, almost like they left behind the script for their own tragedy, because the key, the blueprint, was found right there in the house.
Diary.
Not just one, 11. 11 separate diaries. And these weren't just scribbled notes, they were carefully kept journals found during the search.
And here's the detail that just stops you in your tracks, right? It changes everything. These diaries, they've been kept for nearly 11 years.
11 years.
Think about that. This wasn't some sudden breakdown. This was a long, slow, documented journey.
It really underscores how deep-rooted these beliefs were, how gradually this whole thing unfolded within the family.
11 years of daily entries, almost like chronicling a separate reality being built inside those walls.
And what's truly chilling is what was in these diaries. They weren't just about everyday life. They contained daily instructions, detailed instructions, purportedly dictated, the family believed, by the spirit of the late patriarch, Bhopal Singh. He died back in 2004.
So they believed their dead father was telling them what to do.
Yes, communicating from the afterlife, guiding them. And the instructions were mainly written down by the younger family members, specifically Lalit, Priyanka, and Neetu. Lalit, as we'll get into, became the central figure, the one channeling these directives.
And the precision, the eerie precision of the instructions in those diaries is just staggering. They detail exactly how to tie hands and feet, how to blindfold, how to gag, even how to hang in groups of 3. Specific groups.
God.
When the investigators started reading these, they must have realized this matches the scene almost perfectly.
Point for point.
Like a manual, a step-by-step, morbid script for what they found. Every knot, every blindfold, it was all laid out.
And remember Narayani Devi, the 80-year-old matriarch found on the bed.
Yeah, strangled, not hanging.
The diary specifically mentioned that. They stated, the eldest grandmother was to lie down rather than hang, which fits perfectly with her age, her physical condition. Maybe she couldn't have managed hanging.
Wow.
And it reinforces this idea of meticulous adherence to a plan outlined over years, down to the exact position of each person. The consistency between the diaries and the reality of the scene was just undeniable.
And the police needed to be sure about these diaries, right, that they were genuine.
Absolutely. So handwriting analysis was key. Forensic work confirmed it. The entries were written by Priyanka and Neetu, but crucially, they were writing down what Lalit told them under his direction.
Oh, okay.
So that cemented it. The orchestration was entirely internal, not an outside job. It proved the family members themselves planned and carried this out, guided by what they believed was their father's spirit. That handwriting detail. It pretty much closed the book on external involvement theories and shifted focus squarely onto the psychology.
Which brings us to Lalit, the central figure, and this deeply disturbing concept of shared psychosis.
Yes, folie à plusieurs is the clinical term. Shared psychosis. Lalit was, without doubt, the catalyst, the one who led the family down this path. To understand how this could happen, you need to look at his journey. Reports say he became increasingly introverted after his father's death back in 2004.
Okay, so a period of grief, maybe vulnerability after losing his dad.
Exactly. And he'd also had an accident, lost his voice for a while. That might have added to his isolation, his internal turmoil.
And it was during this time, this vulnerability, that he started claiming his father. Paul Singh was speaking through him.
Correct. He began claiming possession, asserting this connection to his late father.
And the family. They eventually accepted this.
It seems so. What might have started as concern, perhaps, over time became the accepted reality in that house. This belief gave him immense authority. He became authoritative. He gained profound control over the family's actions and psychospiritual framework.
So he wasn't just Lalit anymore. He was the voice of their dead father.
Pretty much. His words weren't suggestions. They were seen as divine commands. Essential for the family's prosperity, their well-being. You followed them without question.
So explain shared psychosis, folie à plusieurs, a bit more. How does that work?
Right. It's a rare psychiatric syndrome, but it happens. Essentially, a delusion, a false belief, gets transmitted from one person, we call them the inducer or the primary case, that's Lalit here, to other people who are close to them, usually family members, people in a really tight-knit group.
Okay.
Often there's social isolation involved too. So Lalit's delusion that his father was speaking through him, giving instructions, gets passed on to the whole family, And they adopt it. They collectively accept it as their reality. It's not usually about force. It's more like a gradual shared slide into this distorted view of the world, a collective acceptance.
And this leads to maybe the most chilling detail of all. From the psychological autopsy,
Yes, conducted by the CBI's forensic lab, the CFSL, a top agency.
they found that none of them actually intended to die. They thought they were coming back.
That's what the findings indicated. None intended suicide. They expected to resume life after the ritual Kriya was completed.
Wow. That just reframes everything.
Completely. It wasn't despair driving this. It wasn't wanting to end things.
It was faith, a ritual.
A collective act of faith in a completely warped reality. They believed this Kriya, which is a term for a kind of ritual action, often purification. They believed it was temporary, something they had to do, maybe to bring their father back, achieve salvation, gain prosperity. The diaries mention a banyan tree ritual, a gateway to God. In their minds, this wasn't death. It was a transition, a leveling up almost.
The idea they thought they weren't dying. It's almost impossible to comprehend.
It is. But it's what the psychological autopsy, the diaries, all pointed towards. And that belief that they were doing something beneficial, transformative, it made questioning Lalit impossible.
How so?
Well, think about it. He's not just family. He's the voice of their revered dead father. He holds immense spiritual authority. Challenging him, that's like challenging God or their father's spirit. It's unthinkable. It wasn't just fear. It was deep belief, maybe loyalty, this shared hope for a better future. It created this bubble.
An echo chamber almost.
Exactly,
Yeah.
where critical thinking about the instructions just couldn't happen. Reality and belief blurred completely. They were convinced they were part of something sacred.
And this whole picture, this internal orchestration, it was backed up by more forensic details, wasn't it? Stuff that ruled out outsiders for good.
Yes, absolutely. Take the mobile phones. Seems small, but tells you a lot. All their phones were found silenced and placed together in a bag. Where? In the house shrine, the puja room.
Right. That's not what people do if they're being attacked.
Precisely. It's a coordinated, deliberate act, cutting ties with the outside world. Fits perfectly with a planned ritual. Putting them in the shrine just emphasizes the sacred context they believed they were operating in.
And the final nail in the coffin for any external theories, the CCTV.
Definitely. Police reviewed hours of footage from cameras nearby, leading up to that night during the night. And it confirmed no outsiders entered or left the house. Period.
No mystery intruder.
No. Everything that happened, the binding, the arrangement, Narayani Devi's specific situation, it was all internal. Carried out by the family, following those diary instructions. That CCTV evidence was conclusive.
So with all this evidence piled up, the police officially closed the murder case. When was that?
October 2021, they formally concluded their investigation.
And the conclusion was?
No foul play, meaning no external person was responsible. They classified the deaths differently, not just suicide. They called it consensual suicide within a ritual pact.
Consensual suicide ritual pact. That wording is heavy.
It is. It highlights that while they caused their own deaths, it stemmed from a shared agreement, a collective belief in this ritual, not individual despair or outside force.
And the report emphasized something else quite disturbing. Their awareness.
Yes. The police report stressed that all members appeared to have followed the diary's instructions with full awareness.
Full awareness, meaning they knew what they were doing physically,
Yeah,
even if their understanding of the outcome was diluted.
exactly. They weren't physically forced in the usual sense. They understood the instructions, how to tie the knots, blindfold themselves, position themselves, and they carried them out. Because they believed in the outcome, this transformative Kriya. It's a chilling testament to just how powerful that shared delusion was, how complete Lalit's authority had become. Their awareness makes it even more profoundly unsettling.
This case really goes beyond just the crime, doesn't it? It forces you to look at psychology, family, belief.
Absolutely. Burari isn't just a statistic or a shocking event. It's a window into this complex tangle of mental health issues, family dynamics, those intense, often unspoken pressures, and deeply held spiritual beliefs. All these things got twisted together in this one family, leading to something utterly catastrophic.
It makes you wonder how these factors can combine in such tragic ways right inside a family home, which you think of as safe.
And there are echoes here. If you look at history, sadly, this isn't entirely unique in its dynamics. Think about cult-based mass suicides. Jonestown, Guyana, 1978. Over 900 people.
Right? Jim Jones.
Or Heaven's Gate, California in 1997, the comet Hale-Bopp.
Yeah, I remember that.
If you connect the dots, you see these disturbing common threads despite different times, places, beliefs. There's always shared delusion. There's always a powerful, charismatic leader. Jones, Marshall Applewhite, or here, Lalit, seen as channeling his father. Combine that with isolation, unwavering belief. It can tragically lead groups toward self-destruction. The mechanisms are chillingly similar.
And it throws up that really difficult question, doesn't it? Faith versus delusion. Where is the line? Especially in a close group like a family or even a larger cult. How does genuine faith morph into something so dangerous, so detached from reality?
It's often gradual, not a sudden snap.
Like with the diaries. It wasn't immediate commands for this?
Exactly. The diaries showed a progression. Early entries were about prayers, good deeds, ways to improve the family business, overcome problems, seemingly normal spiritual guidance. This built obedience, trust, a foundation of belief. So when the instructions became more extreme, more ritualistic, it was harder for anyone inside that bubble to question them.
Like boiling a frog, almost. A slow conditioning.
In a way, yes, an insidious creep. Critical thinking eroded because the belief system became so all-encompassing, so authoritative. External reality just faded away. The tragedy shows how hard it is to see that boundary when you're inside, especially when it's wrapped up in spirituality, promises of salvation, and deep family loyalty. Their love and trust were manipulated, becoming the chains binding them to the delusion.
And what does this tell us about society, about our vulnerabilities?
I think it's a stark mirror. It reflects how susceptible we can all be, maybe, to misinformation, to charismatic figures, to the power of collective belief. Even when beliefs become really detached from reality, they can have this immense pull.
Especially within close relationships.
Yes. It shows how control isn't always overt, not always physical force. Sometimes it's psychological. A slow reshaping of reality built on love, loyalty, the desire to belong, the hope for a better collective future. The family's closeness, usually a strength, became their biggest vulnerability here. A closed system where outside perspectives just couldn't get in.
It's no wonder this case got so much media attention. Documentaries, series.
Oh, absolutely. It captured the public imagination intensely. You mentioned Netflix's House of Secrets. The Burari deaths, very well regarded.
Yeah, that was in depth.
Then there was Disney plus Hotstar's Akhri Sak, more of a dramatization, and Aha's The Great Indian Suicide. These shows reflect that deep public need to try and understand, to make sense of something so seemingly senseless, digging into the details, the psychology.
But that media attention, it's tricky, isn't it? Some coverage was praised, but some got criticized.
Backlash for sensationalism.
For maybe exploiting the tragedy.
Potentially. Or oversimplifying really complex things like mental health, family dynamics. It raises that ethical question for media, doesn't it?
Yeah. How do you tell such a horrific story responsibly? Balancing informing people with, well, not exploiting grief or misrepresenting trauma. It's a tough line to walk.
But stepping back from the media coverage itself, why does this case still grip us so much? Years later, even people far away.
Is it just the sheer number? 11 people, one family?
That's part of it, surely. The scale is shocking.
Or the mystery? That initial confusion, murder,
Yeah.
suicide, and how the truth slowly, horrifyingly emerged from those diaries.
That's compelling, too. The investigative process itself was dramatic.
Or maybe it's the psychological depth, that idea of shared delusion inside a family, the place you expect safety, love.
I think that's huge, the intimacy of it. This wasn't a distant cult leader. This was happening within a family unit we can all relate to on some level.
Yeah, I agree. It feels close.
Yeah.
It seemed like a normal, successful family.
Yeah.
Respected.
Yeah.
And yet they got drawn into this collective act is just unfathomable. The details, especially from the diaries, so precise, so instructional, make it incredibly vivid, even if it's totally alien to our own lives. It forces you to think about how fragile our minds can be, maybe,
Right.
and the hidden forces that can shape reality, especially when it's dressed up as love or faith.
So, wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we've really tried to peel back the layers here. We saw how those precise details the diaries kept for a decade, the silenced phones in the shrine, the CCTV footage showing no intruders, how they built a picture far beyond simple suicide or murder. It was this journey into a shared distorted reality, a collective belief system, meticulously planned, tragically executed, believing they'd just return. Those specific details, the arrangements, the instructions, the belief in coming back, they shift it from just a crime story to a profound, deeply disturbing psychological case study.
And ultimately, the Burari deaths make us ask more than just what happened. They force us to ask how. How can belief, love, loyalty, things we value get twisted into the framework for such a tragedy? How do we as people, as a society, even see that fine line between shared conviction and shared delusion?
It's a difficult question.
And what can this case teach us about protecting vulnerable people from that persuasive, sometimes insidious power of a single dominant voice?
It's a haunting thought, isn't it, that these vulnerabilities can exist right under the surface of what looks like a normal, loving life.